introduce yourself. First, last name.
Okay, hi, my name is Sam Hamlin.
Let's go. Youngest pod guest so far. Congrats, by the way.
Thanks.
It's kind of cool that you're on this because, a few episodes ago, I decided that I wanted to focus more on people who are contributing and building. And I think what's super cool about you is you've gotten really invested in your sport at a super young age and you're doing well at it. And so you kind of fit the mold in like the next generation sort of way. But one of the reasons this also came about is because I saw you were doing some sort of comedy show as well.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that real quick, and then we can talk about your running? So what's
Okay.
that about?
Okay, so I was in the National Beta Club.
What's
Uh,
that?
so, so it's basically just a thing where you like help out the community and stuff like that. And they have a National Beta Club convention where you can go and you can like basically there's like performing arts and stuff like that. And you can and me and my friend Cora, we did a comedy show. And so we finished third, and you had to get top three to go to nationals in Nashville. And so we got third, and we're going to Nashville this summer.
Oh, cool. When's that
Yeah.
happening? When in the
Uh,
summer? Do you know?
I think I don't, I think it's later in the summer. Like,
Sweet.
yeah,
Wow. Okay. So what was the name of the thing? The beta what?
Beta Club.
The beta club. How did you get involved in that initially?
Okay, so I was in the leadership team at our school, which is basically like a group of fifth graders, and we like help out with the school and like we're so that way a lot of the teachers can see all of the kids' perspectives and what they can see, and so they asked if anybody wanted to join the Beta Club on that team, and I was able to join.
How did you get involved in the leadership team at your school?
Oh, so you had to apply.
Okay.
And yeah, and so I applied and I got into the leadership team. Yeah.
What made you want to apply?
Um, just the being able to have a role in the school, and like this is my last year, and so go big or go home,
Yeah,
and so yeah,
let's go. And so that you're in fifth grade for the audience, right?
yeah.
That's crazy. um, so why did you want a leadership role though? Like why do you care about that?
Just to be able, uh, being a leader is, which for me, that's what I want to be, and I want to be the role model and show people that this is the bar that is set, and you either stay where it's at or go over it, and there's no going under it.
I'm so into it. That's great. Well said. Where did the drive to want to be a standard setter come from?
Um, Probably from when I wasn't a standard standard setter, and I was, just kind of forced at this bar, and a lot of times it was really low, and so I would be hitting it pretty easy. And so when I was able to get the role of being a standard setter and putting it really high, that's when I, you know, made it
Okay.
clear that.
So was that a surprise for you when you set some higher standards and you met them? Were you surprised in your ability?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised when you set higher standards that you can get a lot more out of it.
Absolutely. And so now that you're a role model in that regard, and you're working to continue to be, how how do you keep yourself on the path of hitting these high standards?
Just kind of thinking that, you know, this is the bar and everybody else is going to have to hit it eventually, uh, either now or later. And so I'm just thinking if they can hit it, why can't I?
Right, right, definitely. You're an older brother, so do you think you have some responsibility to
Yeah,
sort of pave the way as the older sibling?
yeah,
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 yeah, I get that for sure. Okay, okay, so again, tell me it's called the Beta Club.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Um, how did you decide that you were going to do comedy with your friend?
Um, just kind of because it seemed kind of fun, and we thought if this thing blows up and we do terrible, um, at least we got a good comedy show out of it. But if it goes to be incredible, then we also get another good comedy show out of it.
Yeah, yeah, two
Yeah,
different types of comedy for sure.
yeah,
Um, so how did you go about figuring out how to do a routine? Was it, would you call it stand up? Was that what you guys did, or was it a
yeah.
skit?
It was stand up.
Okay, how did you
Um,
figure out how to do that?
just kind of think of when they do this, the next thing that you have to do, and start preparing for that next thing. Because I know I definitely had a lot more stuff to say than the other person did. So I was just thinking when I say this, they'll say this, and then I'll say this, and then kind of get into that routine, and eventually you'll start doing it automatically.
Of like setup punchline?
Yeah,
Okay. Did you watch any stand up at all to
yeah, I watched a lot of stand up to kind of get the
Okay.
flow of things.
Nice. Who was your favorite?
Uh, I would have to say Nate Bargatze.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like the Italian guy.
What?
Is he
No,
Italian?
he's
Is he an
no,
Italian
he's
guy?
no, he's not Italian. He's from Tennessee.
Hold on. I'm gonna look him up real quick. Nate, because that name sounds familiar. Nate Bargatze. Oh yeah, I've seen this guy.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Okay, so he's your favorite?
yeah.
Nice. Okay, I'll have to check him out. Yeah, I've definitely seen this guy. Okay, cool. Um, so what happens at nationals?
We go to the a fancy hotel, and we just kind of go. Hopefully, we get top three and that, and if we get top three, then we're one of the best three in the nation.
So that's it. Like this is the
Yeah,
big dogs. This is
yeah.
so nationals really is it. Okay, cool. Um, are you going to like bring the same routine? Or are you going to totally switch it up?
We don't really know right now because we talked about a lot of things that happened in fifth grade,
Uh-huh.
and then that we're going to be going in sixth grade, we don't really know if we want to switch it up or keep it just as is.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Um, okay. Well, I before we talk about your running stuff, is there anything else that you're involved in extracurricularly?
Besides, like other sports, no.
Well, what other sports
Uh,
do you do?
I do. I was on the basketball team. I do soccer and lacrosse.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
Yeah,
I might have known about soccer, but how long you been doing lacrosse for?
probably a year now.
Yeah, is that fun?
Yeah, it's really fun.
Okay. So you said basketball, soccer, lacrosse. Which one's the most fun for you?
The most fun,
Yeah, yeah,
the most fun is definitely lacrosse because here's the thing with lacrosse in Kentucky. There's no age dividers in middle and elementary school, so it's just elementary school, middle school, and high school. So I'm playing against kindergartners and first graders,
yeah.
and a very contact sport that doesn't end well.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. But that makes it fun.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun. Track is track and cross country are also very fun. Soccer is very fun. Basketball is very fun. They're all super fun. Yeah.
Okay, so well, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. It's kind of impressive, and we'll talk about it here in a bit. But you spend a lot of time with your running, so I guess I didn't realize the variety you were still exposing yourself to with regards to your sporting events, and I think that's good to try a bunch of things. Um, so good for you. Um, when you ran, so you just had a 5K this past weekend.
Yep.
Were you going for a PR? Was this like a what was the goal of this 5K?
Okay, so the goal was the PR. We
Okay.
we okay, so this was a course that I'd never run before. So I
Gotcha.
didn't know really what to expect.
Uh-huh.
It was at Masterson Station Park. I've run on the grass there a lot of times for cross country meets, and it's kind of hilly, but it wasn't. And I had been on those roads that we were going to run in, so I was thinking it's no big deal. I know this. Um, so I was coming in thinking this could be a PR opportunity for me, and so I went in. It was not at all what I was thinking. It was a very hilly course.
Oh, tough.
Um, yeah, and on the way back, uh, there was headwind, so we were having to deal with that. Um, but I ended up with a not so bad time and a not so bad placement. Third overall for men, and then 21:37
Hey.
was a yeah. But people kept by coming to say that like you can take off 1 to 2 minutes of your time because of the headwind, and then also how hilly the course was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, one of the nice things about a hilly, windy course is that it happens to everyone, right? So everyone's a
Yeah,
little bit slower. And so, you said you got third for men overall,
yeah, third
Uh,
for men overall,
all ages.
all ages.
Gotcha. Gotcha. You know, there's going to be some people who listen to this episode who are going to be a little upset because are you 11?
Yeah, I'm 11
And you said your time was what?
at 20. The time that I ran with you was like a 20:35 or something like that, but I just ran a 21:37.
It's just funny because people are going to be mad. Do people ever get mad at you when they hear your times because they're jealous? I'm curious.
People never get mad. They just kind of like laugh and think that's crazy and stuff like that.
I mean, it's a little
Yeah,
crazy. Okay, so when you and I did our 5K together, that was a 20. What did we do?
I think it was like a 20:35, something like that.
That was a really nice day.
Yeah, that was a really nice day.
Yeah, and I think I liked that course. It was cool
Yeah,
ending uh,
yeah,
on the field. That was dope.
yeah.
Um, okay, well, so for everyone who's listening, we've talked about it a little bit. You're a big runner.
Yes.
That's like your main sport, right? How did you get involved in it, and how old were you? And then we'll go from there.
Okay, so so COVID year was my kindergarten year. They had it, but my parents didn't want me around hundreds of kids when that was going on. And so
Sure.
in first grade, um, my mom asked me if I wanted to do cross country, and I was kind of like, sure, didn't really think much about it. And then, first year is going to be the first year. It's going to be, you know, mediocre year and stuff like that. Well, in the
And you're
second year,
6. You're also like 6,
yeah,
right? So like your body is just so
yeah,
much tinier than it is now.
yeah. And
Okay.
then second grade year, we go in, and this is the very first meet, and I wasn't expecting all of this. Very first meet, I go out and get second place, and that was kind of like the icebreaker for me that I could really start doing stuff. And we moved all the way up. and got faster and faster and faster.
So in second grade, what's like who are you running against? Like, what are the age ranges
Okay.
in a league like this?
Okay, so the age they can differ for each meet, but most of the time it's second and under, and third through fifth. Um, Sometimes you'll find a meet where it's K through 5. Those are really the unfair meets because
Sure.
yeah, and then
Same as the lacrosse.
yeah, and then and then some meets are first and second grade. Uh, no, I mean kindergarten and first, second and third, and fourth and fifth, and that's basically all you're gonna find. Except at state is the only one that you're gonna find something different. It's kindergarten through fourth grade, and it's fifth graders and sixth graders.
Okay, I kind of get that. What distance are you running in second grade?
Okay, so in second grade cross country, you're gonna be doing a 2K. So that's about just over a
Yeah.
mile and a quarter.
Uh-huh.
Where I'm doing now is a 3K, and that's gonna be like just over 2 miles. And track, the farthest distance that I run is the 3,200, and that's 2 miles on
Oh,
the dot. Yeah,
dude,
I've
the two
yeah
miles kind of brutal on the track though.
I've done that indoor and outdoor. The indoor, I promised myself I'm never gonna do again. It was 16 laps of
That's
just
horrendous.
here.
It's too much
Yeah,
counting. It's too much counting.
yeah,
When you're in a race. Yeah,
yeah.
that's out of control. Well, kudos to you for knocking out a 2 miler on an indoor track. That's crazy. Um, so you're in cross country. You're running a 2K in second grade, and you get second place. How does that feel? Like you remember how that felt?
Oh, that felt really, really good. I still remember when I was finishing the finish line, and I was like, I did it. I got my goal of finishing top three. And then, from there, uh, here's another hard switch is going from second grade to third grade, because third grade is when you start doing that extra K, and
Mm,
yeah, it starts to get a lot harder.
yeah, absolutely. What do practices look like for that age range? Like how many
Okay,
days a week and what are you doing?
so practices for that age range look like probably like maybe so Sunday. All right, so for track practices, they would look like Sunday we're on the track at the high school running,
Mm,
which that could be anywhere. If we had a meet on Saturday, our coach isn't going to go out there and tell us to do 400-meter intervals. He might do us like do a mile and a half or 2 miles easy. Um, there was a lot less 2 miles than there were 3 miles when I was a lot younger. And so it would look like maybe 2 miles. Um, yeah, 2 miles Sunday. Monday we had the day off. Tuesday we had a workout, which that could probably be hill sprints, maybe like 6 hill sprints. And I want to say the hill, it's not a small hill, but it's also not a ginormous hill. So
gotcha.
it's yeah, it can be pretty hard, but like it's also not super easy. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and then Wednesday would be an easy day, and then Thursday would be us getting race ready. Friday, light day, and then Saturday would be race day, and we continue it. And then as I got older, it would be like, let's say Saturday we had a meet, we would do 3 miles on the track instead of doing two, and then we would run that two, take the day off on Monday. Well, I would work out on Monday, and then Tuesday we would have a workout just to get the legs moving, and then Wednesday, now that I'm older, I'm gonna go to this invitational meet that only like the top runners are allowed to go to, and so I go to that meet instead of going to practice Wednesday. And on Thursday, it's a light day.
So does that mean you're doing two meets now?
Yeah, normally it's two meets. So, um, so this week we don't have any because it's spring break, and we have some. And we just had one last Wednesday, and yeah, most of the time we'll have two, maybe one on Saturday and one on Wednesday.
Man, that's a grind. So how how are your energy levels and are you enjoying all of this?
Definitely those hill sprints. That's when you start to think I want to quit and stuff like that. But then I think about the moments when I don't want to quit, the moments when I just finished the 800 and finished in the top three at state, and that's when I want. That's what I start thinking about.
So when you want to quit, you think about winning.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Um, okay, very nice. How many race types have you done? So 5K, obviously you've
Okay.
done
I've done.
two
I've
miles, so
done.
list them.
Yeah. So 5K, 2 miles, 1 mile, 1600, 1500, 4x8, 4x4, 4x2, 4x1, 100, 200, long jump, uh, 400, and I think that's about it.
Cool. So you're getting some good exposure, which I think is also important. Do you enjoy the shorter distance sprints at all?
No, I'm not. I'm not that good of it. I don't have that fast twitch that other people do. I
Same.
can't, yeah, get going and start moving like that. I need more time to.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm right there with you. Um, what about when you start getting to the 800?
All right, the 800 is. I would say the 800 is my favorite event.
How
I also
come?
think it because I think it's the hardest event.
It is the hardest
Uh,
event. I think so.
yeah,
I completely agree
yeah.
with you.
Because it's on the edge of a sprint, and it's also on the edge of distance. So it's kind of in that middle area. Um, and it's also so in track events you would have the 1600, uh, I think 4x1, 400, and then you have the 800.
Yeah.
And so you have very little time. But like you said, everybody else who ran the 1600 had very little time, and also everybody else is also running the hardest event in track.
Yeah, I think that's what you just brought up is not underrated within the sport, but is underappreciated for those who are not in the sport. And that's if you're doing multiple events in a day, how close they are to each other is is the real test of endurance. Because it's okay, I've got my mile or my 1600, and then I've got a quick turnaround. I got to do an 800, and then I'm doing a 4 by mile or a 4 by 4 at the end or something later, and you got three events in 4 hours. And you got to warm up, you got to cool down, and all that stuff. And
Yeah, at nationals, so nationals you have the quarterfinals, then you have the semifinals, and then you have nationals, right? So for nationals, what I did is I did the 1500, the 800, and then the 400. So I was all doing this in about a 2 hour span. Expect the 4x8 and the 800. That was all because I had just ran the 400, and then I had to go get ready to do the 800.
so, yeah, I mean that's really tough. I definitely empathize with you because I've been there. But although I was in high school, but what you said you liked the 800 because it was the hardest race. So what? Explain that.
Okay, so I like the 800 because it's the hardest race. Because you're going to have a mix of about everyone. You're going to have a mix about sprinters. You're going to have a mix of distance runners. And when that all comes together, you get a big ball of chaos at the start. And so everybody's fighting for the top position. And I like that because then I think a lot of the times when that happens, I come out on top. And once you become in first place, you can basically do whatever you want. You could speed the pace up, you could slow the pace down. You could most of the time I like to speed it up. Because if I made that surge already, why would I not speed it up? And so that's why I think it can get kind of hard at times because you have to pace yourself, but you can't pace yourself too because there's only 2 laps. You can't pace yourself too lightly and
Right. The 800 is a very challenging pace, right? Because basically you finish your first lap and you're like, I'm already really tired, but you still have another lap to do.
yeah,
Um, and so it's like, how do I not sprint this, but not go overly easy and pace myself too much and then screw it up? It's definitely a fine balance. Um, so 800, you've done the 2 mile. Is there a race that you haven't done that you want to try?
um,
Kind of
basically
done
pretty
all.
much yeah. Um, the 5K on a track. I know it seems miserable, but I've seen it happen and it seems pretty fun.
I mean, I guess the cool thing about a 5K on the track is it's completely flat.
Yeah, you don't have to
So
worry about.
you can really just like time max, for lack of a better word, and just like kind of go hard knowing this is exactly what it's going to be like the whole time. There's going to be no surprises unless some crazy breeze comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Um, okay, so when you won that race in second grade and you continued to practice and you continued to get better and get faster and run different races and all that, but like running a 2030, which when did we do that? When was that?
That
Was
was,
it
I think, like last summer.
last summer? Okay,
Yeah.
so you know let's call it 8 months ago,
Yeah.
just to be generous. So like, were you 11 then, or were you 10 at that point?
I was I was
When's your birthday?
10. Yeah. September 18th. I don't know why I thought about that. I
Okay,
was
yeah,
10.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
were 10. You were 10. Um, so it's just crazy because to run a 2030 something as a 10-year-old um, is pretty out of control. When did you realize that you were getting good, like above average?
I think the realization hit me that I was above average when I went to state and I finished 13th in second grade in cross country. Like, cause that was almost in the top 10,
Uh huh.
very close to the top 10. And, my school, Liberty, we are, I think, if you take boys and girls, track and field and cross country, I think we're like 17-time state champions.
Oh,
And
shut up!
so,
Shout out
yeah,
Liberty.
yeah. and so, um, and so, yeah, when you put that in and you go to an above average school and you go to, and that's what happens. You become above average runner. And I really started thinking about that once we won state and I got 13th.
That tracks. What sort of ambition do you have now?
Ambition, going off to middle school state, you have to qualify for an event. You're not offered an open door and you have to get certain times. And so ambition right now is for the 2 mile, which is an 11:32, which that's light work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you got that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, for the 2 miler, because that's
Yeah.
okay. Wait, so you want to go? So you think sub 6 minute is going to be light work for you?
I mean, yeah, I think it like it's like a 5:55, right? or like a 5:56. It's around
Yeah.
that time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's like, yeah,
You
I
got
could do
that?
that. Yeah.
Nice.
You,
That's
I
awesome.
think I figured out the pacing for the 2 mile. You just have to. Okay, so the second mile is where it gets everyone. The first mile is that's when you have to start moving. I mean, that's when you have to start conserving yourself for the
Okay.
second mile. Trust me. When you run it multiple times,
No, I believe you. I believe you. I only ever had to do it twice. And that for me was like 14 years ago, and I didn't want to do it, so I had a bad attitude about it. But um, I'm curious. So you'd say you conserve yourself the first mile, and then when you talk about the second mile, like how are you approaching it?
I'm approaching it as first lap. I'm building up. First lap of the second mile,
Yeah.
I'm building up. Gaining momentum into that second lap. At second lap, still building up, and then the third lap is where it gets everybody. So every time I run the mile, our coach talks about this. The first lap, you know, you're feeling motivated. It's your first lap, you're feeling good. Your second lap, you're coming off of the second lap. Your third lap, that's when everybody starts to get settled in and relax, and that's when we start making the easy mistakes of not getting to the very inside of lane one and stuff like that. That's when we
Yeah.
start to drift
Okay.
off. But then your fourth lap, that's when you're motivated. It's your last lap. You got to go. So I'm building momentum into this third lap, and the third lap is when you have to, start your kick because you saved up in mile one, and a lot of people hadn't. And so you start your kick at lap three to boost you into lap four, and then lap four is when
Bring it home.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, the third lap, whether you're doing the mile or the 2 mile, and by the third I mean the second mile that we were talking about.
yeah,
The third lap is always the worst, in my opinion, because you've done your first two,
yeah,
and now you're starting to feel the fatigue, the tiredness is starting to
yeah,
creep in, and it's easy to start to slow down because when you're tired, you're like, oh, I'm just tired, but I'm still going as fast. But you're tired and you're starting to slow down. So it actually feels like you're going faster when in reality you're not. And then you get to that fourth lap and you're like, okay, cool, we're on the fourth lap. I can just go
yeah,
because now the end is in sight. But I think the third lap is the make or break lap. I think you're totally on point with that.
yeah. And then
Um,
sometimes you start thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna have to go even faster for the fourth lap. Well, maybe I should slow down in this third lap and start giving yourself excuses of
yes,
why I should start slowing down.
well, dude, I'm so glad you said that because that's so true. Absolutely. And that voice that whispers in the back, just slow down, conserve yourself. But it's like you don't have any margin for air to slow down. So it's
Yeah,
like it's basically that voice in your head is lying to you. uh, I mean, pretty much. So good on you for recognizing that. Um, you had talked a little bit before about like making sure you're in the right lane and stuff. Like, how important is that?
and it can get, especially in the 2 mile and the longer distances, that's where it starts to get, you think about if you're running on the outside of lane one, if you're doing that in the 200, you're not losing that much time or distance, even though in the 200, each tick of the clock is sweet, sweet time. Still, you're not going to be losing as much time. And the 3200, if you're running on the outside of lane one and not the inside, you're going to start losing a lot more distance to if you were running in the inside of lane one. And also, it makes it easier to pass if you're on the outside because taking the inside makes them pass with less energy. They don't have to go all the way out to lane two to pass you. They can just whoosh right by you.
Gotcha. Okay, so if I'm hearing correctly, um, if you're running on the inside, you're technically, especially in a 3200, running less distance, right, than if you're running on
Yeah.
the outside. That's pretty straightforward. But you're saying when it comes to passing, can you say what you were saying when it comes to passing again? I just want to make
Okay,
sure.
so when it comes to passing, if you're running on the outside of lane one, if
Mm-hmm.
someone's trying to pass you, it's easier for them to pass you when you're on the outside and then to take the inside of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I just wanted to clarify. That makes sense. Yes. So, end of the day, run as much on the inside of lane one as you can. So you're running less, and so it's harder to pass you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Um, what sort of, okay, you mentioned the time for the 2 mile. Are there any other events like coming into sixth grade that you're hoping to get involved in?
4x8.
Oh,
Uh,
why is
um,
that?
okay, so the 4x8, last year I broke the state record for the 4x8. Well, I didn't. Our team did,
Yep.
but, it was a collective effort. And I think we broke it to where it's not going to be broken again. And with our record that we set, it's not going to be the same people, but it's going to be, our times are pretty close. Um, with the time that we set last year, we're going to be able, if in middle school, we're going to be able to get into state because for the 4x8, the bar is very, very low. Like
Okay.
that's where most sixth graders make it in. Most sixth graders make it into the 4x8 because the bar is set very, very low for the 4x8.
Gotcha. You think it's because like people either sprint or they do distance, and like for the kids that they don't know what to do with, they're like, here, you just do the 4x8.
Yeah, they're just thinking, yeah, you just take the 4x8 because if we put you in the open 800, that's when the kids are like really, really good at the 800. That's what they're going to do. So they're going to put you on a 4x8 so that way if you have a bad time, you have a team to lean back on.
Okay, gotcha. Where do you go in the order of the 4x8?
Uh, I I went third when we broke the state record.
Nice.
Um, yeah.
Very cool. Do you care if I ask you about like times, like mile, 800?
Okay. Yeah. So 800. My time is a 2:32. Um,
I love it. Yeah, 232 for the eight.
yeah.
So that's awesome. Uh-huh.
Okay. And then my mile is a 5:45.
Wow.
Um, yeah. And basically every other event that I do. Oh yeah. I barely run the 400, but when I do, it's kind of just a thing to do for fun. Um, I do the I do it in a 112.
Okay. Gotcha. 112. Nice. Yeah, that all tracks. Very cool. Um, okay. Well, I mean, if your mile PR is a 5:45, I bet you can get that 11. You said 11:30 for the two?
11:32. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get that. You'll get that at some point.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, when I paced you for the race that you and I did, you got to talk. Do you remember the guy you talked with who was he a college athlete, like who we got to talk to for a second after? Do you remember that?
Um, I think I don't remember that. I think it was someone whose son was had just run in the race, and his son was a runner for the Cincinnati Bearcats.
Yes, but so
Yeah.
so we briefly talked to one of those runner guys though, because like he came over and he was like, "Oh, what's your time?" And he was like, or he asked you your time, you gave it to him, and then he said, "Oh, that's awesome. I was not running as fast as you
Oh
were."
yeah, I remember that
You
guy.
remember that? Okay, so
Yeah.
the reason I bring that up is because you've got these college athletes, right? And or at least the one that I was there for, and kind of hypes you up a little bit. I know it's a ways away, but like when a college athlete talks to you like that, does that make you think about like running in college and that sort of
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to run at college.
Okay. Yeah. I figured as much, and that was also, when I asked you about ambition, I knew like I figured you would bring up the next year or something that's a lot more like real and now and kind of in front of you, and college is so far away. And so I don't think you should really be putting too much time and thought into that. But also, who cares what I think? But um, that really is like your long term vision. Then is like being able to run in college.
Yeah,
Wow. How what is it about running compared to the other sports that makes you want to be like, this is my jam?
because every other sport that I named was a team sport, and
Yeah.
track you're held reliable for whatever you do. Uh, so if you have a bad time in the 1600, you can't blame it on the team. There's only one person to blame, and that's you. Um, and I also, you know, also I like to be able, like, that also means that nobody will mess me up. It's only
True.
me. Yeah,
So there's a higher level of control for you.
yeah.
Gotcha. Do you ever feel like what sort of pressure do you put on yourself?
Like, pressure? Do you mean like what am I scared of, or
No, not like what are you scared of, but like, you want to do well, right?
yeah,
And you want to achieve these goals. Like obviously, you're involved in stuff at school. You're playing all these sports, but you're also really good at one sport, which is great. But like, you earlier you said like this is the standard. I have high standards and I want to hit them. Like,
yeah?
do you feel any sort of pressure that you give yourself, like where you're like, oh, what happens if I don't hit the standard, or
I don't
you just not, that's not how you think, or what?
I don't, that's not how I think, and that's not how I get pressure. I get pressure of thinking, I never think about what if I don't hit the goal. I always think about what if, especially in the bigger races, I always think about what if, I'm going to use an example of
Please.
when I was at the Brooks Nationals, and
Okay.
I was thinking, what if I got 31st and top 30 got medals? So top 30 got medals, right? And I was thinking, what if I got 31st and I got 31st?
And you did get 31st
Yeah,
in real life? Oh, that's crazy.
yeah. But I also set a PR, so it's not. It's like I set a PR, but I got 31st. Like I can't.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah,
So how did you I mean, you did set a PR, so that kind of helps, but like
yeah.
if you don't achieve a goal that you set, like how do you deal with that?
And the next race, do it. If I didn't,
That's such a great answer. No, I only laugh because it's just, yeah, in the next race do it. So like you're not too hard on yourself after. You're like, all right, cool. Next time I have to do it then.
yeah.
Just like that.
Mhm.
That's great. That's so good. And then so you just like the rest of the day you're cool then. Like if you don't hit the goal, like it might be a little tough, but you're gonna be all right.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little tough, but I'm gonna be all right because there's always gonna be another race or a race opportunity.
Right. That's great. I think that's a good mindset. Who do you look up to?
Who do I look up to?
Yeah.
Um, as a runner, I've always looked up to Noah Lyles, even though he's a sprinter, not a distance runner.
Okay.
Um, I've looked up to
Why do you look up to him?
because just you know what he came from and how he was did what he battled when he was younger, having asthma and extreme asthma and stuff like that. But being able to battle through that and go through and go to be the fastest man uh, in the world.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's a great story. Um, so you like when people have to overcome adversity and there's obstacles
Yeah,
in your way, that's something you look up to.
yeah.
Awesome. Who else?
Um, Nico Young. Um, I think that he Nico Young never really battled anything when he was younger, but he definitely showed what he would put his body on the line for running. He would go and do all this. He's also the 5K American record holder.
Let's go.
And yeah, and just for your very first pro race, you to you to go out very first 5K as a pro, and you go out there and you broke the American world record. And you have like legends right next to him. Like he had the world record holder in the marathon right next to him. He had a bunch of guys right next to him that probably were thinking that today's my day to break the world record, and then he went out there and beat all of them.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, another great story. So, do you feel like you are pretty immersed, like you know a lot about the sport and the runners and like who's doing what?
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's fun for you.
yeah, it's fun for me.
Where do you watch that sort of stuff?
I normally it most of the time I just kind of watch it on YouTube because you just get the highlights of the race.
Right,
Because they make you pay a lot of times to watch the race live,
right. Yeah,
and
I've been doing
so
that.
yeah,
Nice. Yeah, no, YouTube's awesome. That's cool.
yeah.
Wow, man. This has been pretty sweet. I'm curious, based off your mindset. You know, I know you're only 11, but is there any piece of advice that you've gotten that has been like really beneficial?
Um, Probably the uh trying to think piece of advice that has been very beneficial. Okay, so here's it. So when I broke my nose, I had to sit out for a race, and because that was mandatory. But then there was this other race that was I didn't have to sit out, but also kind of didn't want to run it. But then, one of the coaches came up to me and said, "We need you to run this race, and if you don't, I want you to watch what happened. And if we lose, then I want if I bet you if you could go back in time, you would choose to run this race." And so then I chose to run the race, and we won. And if I wouldn't have been there, we would have lost.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So more so of like he gave you like a solid motivational speech.
yeah, motivational speech type
Yeah,
thing.
that's cool. No, that's good. Um, your family's obviously been super supportive of you.
Yeah,
How awesome has that been?
that's been really awesome to have a family that supports me.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
makes a big difference.
yeah.
Um, yeah, no, really great. Do you have any advice that you wish to impart on my audience? Any sage wisdom?
Um, Anytime you don't want to do anything, just think about the outcome of what if you did it, what would happen. Like say one day you're not really feeling it and you don't want to go do a workout, or if you don't want to run, just think about the outcome of if you do it. You're gonna feel accomplished. You're gonna feel um good. You're gonna feel, and then once you have that feeling, just take it into the next time, and then the next time, and the next time.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Truthfully, this has been so fun. I think that's really good advice, truthfully, because the good decisions build off each other, right? So you make one good decision, it makes it a little bit easier to make the next decision. And ooh, I made two good decisions in a row. Okay, like it's a positive feedback loop, and then all of a sudden you look back a year later and you're like, wow, I'm so much better than I was, not just in the specific thing, but in life, because the good decision making that started with running or started with studying or started with whatever has bled out into the rest of my life, and I'm just better because of all the good decisions I made. You feel like that's true?
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely been true in my experience, and there's a little extra added pressure now because I got 2 kiddos. So, you
Yeah.
gotta make sure you practice what you preach so that they see it. And, they, when it's time, luckily I got a little bit of time, but my 2-year-old, she speaks, she watches, and it's like, okay, gotta be on it. No doubt. Um, is there anything we're getting here to the end? Dang, we've been going for 51 minutes. This flew by. We're getting to the end of this
Yeah.
thing. Is there anything you want to say to the audience? Is there anything you want to ask me or talk about before we wrap her up?
Nope.
Nope. Awesome, dude. This was a blast. I'm
Yeah.
glad your mom and your aunt reached out about this because this was fun. Did you have fun?
Yeah, I had fun, and I'm glad that you allowed me onto this.
Yeah, dude. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is a great decision. Absolutely. Um, we'll call it a day. You and I can say goodbye offline, but let's go
Okay.
say and say peace out to the audience. All right. Give me a
Peace
peace
out.
out. Yeah.
Peace
Later,
out.
folks. What's up, everybody? It's Jake here, Fowler and Friends. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me and all of us over here at Fowler and Friends. So if you could please like, subscribe, comment, do all of that. But definitely subscribe, share the videos with your friends, keep on supporting the channel. Thank you so much. Catch you on the next one. Later.